Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of The Building Blocks. I am Vivek.
I'm Ishwarya.
And today we have with us Akshay, who is a senior PM at 1mg. Welcome Akshay.
Hi everyone. Hi guys.
सो अक्षय, हमें कहीं से उड़ती उड़ती खबर मिली है कि आपकी जर्नी पीएम के अंदर बहुत ही बढ़िया रही है. मतलब सो मैनी different things that you did and finally landed into PM. So that's why we invited you and we wanted to have a chat कि यार कैसा जर्नी रहा है.
Sure.
And for people outside, whoever wants to get into this domain, उनके लिए काफ़ी बढ़िया idea होगा because different experiences that I landed into.
Sure.
So let's start कि कैसे your journey started and then we'll get into nitty-gritties.
Sure. Sounds like interview. Let's start with a quick brief introduction. And so cool. So I started my career post MBA journey with Sun Pharmaceutical, where I joined them as a global leadership program trainee. It was a typical management training program where you are rotated across different functions. You work with the leaders within those verticals, and then you do small-term, short-term engagements with them, like cost efficiency, Six Sigma, and whatnot, right? So I did that for some time until I was absorbed by the India Region Marketing Office in Bombay and was working as a senior brand manager for them. But given my training, right, so I was working on these short-term stints and solving problems for the leaders. I thought that my core skill set is I got to observe that my core skill set is problem solving and not the usual brand management. Though it was interesting work, no doubt about it. And marketing per se is one of the go-to, a dream job for most of the MBA pass outs, right? Mm-hmm. So having said that, I took a hard call and got an opportunity to work with a boutique consulting firm, both in India as well as Middle East. And again, problem solving. So my intention to join that firm was solely to hone my problem solving skills, and worked across different functions, worked in project management office function, worked as cost efficiency consultant, worked as org restructuring consultant and whatnot, right? So multiple types of engagement, what I was doing in my training period, right? So something similar I got to explore. And worked with ex-McKinsey, ex-BCG sort of consultants in that firm and got trained by them, right? So the idea was to get an understanding of what are we trying to solve and how we are trying to solve it, right? So both part I did. And then switched to PwC post that and worked in their public healthcare vertical, again digital transformation, and got to work on very large scale pan-India projects, right? Again, and there what I focused on was not only problem solving but also scaling a team. So given my role at the boutique consulting firm was more of a IC role, here I transitioned into a team manager role, right? So I was a principal consultant at PwC, had a team and led the entire engagement on my own, including P&L, resourcing, and those kind of stuff that come with a managerial sort of a role. So got to understand that a little bit as well. But there was something missing, as a consultant, we develop the strategy, what has to be done. We do fact finding, requirement gathering, what are the problems, root cause analysis and everything. And then we end up forming a long-term, short-term, mid-term strategies. In certain scenarios, as consultants, we would go about implementing some of the low-hanging fruits. But in most of the cases, we would just build the strategy, hand it over and move out, right? So that was something, a limiting factor that, coming from a very passionate sort of a background, right? I want to solve things. But here, I'm not solving. I'm just proposing a solution, right? So I don't know whether the solutions that I'm proposing will actually work or not.
Correct.
Right? So having said that, and during those years, so this was 2017, 18 when I was with PwC, and product management was a hot job that was emerging in Indian ecosystem, right? Correct. Earlier, only Mang, Fang sort of organization used to have these product manager roles across. and top tier tech companies would be having product managers and all, right? So the idea was to break into product management and understand what it takes to become a product manager, right? What is that missing piece? Being in consulting, half the job was done.
Right.
But whether that half the job was even right, we didn't know.
Correct.
Right. So, given that you're not tracking any metric, you don't know whether when you implement this strategy, what all challenges will you be facing? How would you be, pivoting around different strategy? How you would be experimenting with different solutions that could have happened, right? So that was the biggest, lacuna in my sort of thought process. So then got an opportunity to work with a health insurance firm where they were not sure about building a product team per se, but they wanted to dabble into it. They had a digital transformation function, digital business function, and they wanted to create value across the different verticals by bringing in the innovation part of it, right? So when I say innovation, they basically wanted to work with startups who are working in the insurtech space or certain specific areas which could be leveraged by that firm to create value, right? So that was my role. I was driving the product innovation charter for them. So what product innovation means, again, same thing, right? So I pick up a problem area, right, that is defined by this particular leader of that vertical. So let's say claims, right? So claims process. So there are multiple types of health insurance claims that come in. So one of the areas was the pre-authorized claims, right? So how can you go about solving them, right? What are the challenges in that, and where the value can be created, right? So consultative approach, right? So being a consultant, evaluated the entire current functioning. What is, if we can reduce the turnaround time, if we can improve the serviceability by bringing in some sort of technology intervention, or we can fast track something, or we have to control the leakage part of it, that fraudulent claims are coming in and we are not able to solve it. So there could be multiple problems, right? So typical RCA analysis that was done, and we got to understand that there is one area that we should be focusing on. And then once the area is identified, the idea was to identify the players in the market, typically startups, who are solving this problem, bring them on board, plug them in, and then solve things. So essentially they would become my pod, right? I will have the problem statement, I will write the product requirement document. I know what needs to be solved, what metrics that will be driven. And then I ask them to come and plug their solution into. So basically, these are all SaaS companies, right? And they come and they would plug their solution into my value chain, and we'll see whether value is getting created or not, and we will track it. And if there is a need to pivot or improve upon that, we will do that, right? So this is what I did at Max Health Insurance, where I was working, and did for a couple of years over there. Before then, I got a break into a proper product manager role, where I would, sort of have my own pod, would have designers to work with, would have program managers, a complete setup which is within the organization and not outside organization, which is not in your control, right? So typically when you are working with startups and all, they have their own working style. Correct. They have their own way of delivering things, right? So it was still, and if you see consulting, then product innovation, where everything is outsourced. Here I am transitioning myself into a product manager's role, but again don't have control over the pod. Then transitioned into a pure product manager's role, where everything is within my ecosystem. Right. So this is how the transition happened. And it was obviously driven by myself, because I knew what I was lacking in terms of my career progression, where I wanted to be. So and why I'm emphasizing on this fact is it's very important, right? So given PM is being a PM is one of the hottest job across the career landscape today, right? What people want to pursue, and most of the people would want to break into product manager. If you rewind 5 years back, everybody was wanting to break into data science, right? So something similar is happening with product managers, right? So you see so many courses, so many leaders talking about product management across LinkedIn, social platforms, and whatnot. And everybody is trying to capitalize on this demand, right? So they are trying to bridge that demand supply gap, so as to make some value out of for themselves.
Correct.
Rather than creating it for the users. So this point vis-a-vis how I progressed into and how I broke into product management, right? It was driven by me, right? I wanted to be in product management. It's not that because product management is a very hot job to pursue, a very nice career, prospect to have on your resume, but more like that is where I was naturally progressing, right? Problem solve, brand management, problem solving, then consulting, then innovation, and then finally breaking into product management, right?
यार बहुत ज़्यादा इंटरेस्टिंग जर्नी, काफ़ी कुछ ब्रांड मैनेजमेंट एंड एवरीथिंग. सो a lot of questions has popped up in my mind. So you can also join in between. So first thing, एक जो आपका टाइमिंग थिंग दिखा कि सन फार्मा, देन मैक्स टू एंड देन अगेन हेल्थ केयर, तो ये कॉन्शियस डिसीजन था या जस्ट हो रहा था ऐसे ही?
Not a conscious decision. I just grabbed on the opportunity, whatever came my way, right? So the intention was clear, right? I have to move further from consulting into product. So how could I do that? Whatever opportunity came my way, I just took it.
Okay, but healthcare एक underlying theme बन गया.
Yes. And to add to that, I took a pay cut. Because I was a manager in PwC, right? And I was already at certain level, but I wanted to break into a PM role.
Right.
So it is evident that nobody would pay me the consulting salary. So I had to take a pay cut, and then I had to then again restart from scratch in my PM journey. So that is a conscious decision.
And like how you transition from consulting into product management, right? You said consulting, then product strategy, then
Right.
to product management, the
Correct.
entire life cycle of product.
Correct.
So what were the few challenges that you might have faced? Because given if we come as a fresher in that domain,
Right.
we are expected that we'll be taught, right?
Right.
But if you're already coming at a certain position and with an experienced tag attached to yourself, then you're expected to join the firm and start working itself. Right. But you came to product management as a fresher.
Yeah.
So how did you cope with the pressure of delivering things or expected to know everything already? So how was that managed?
Very interesting question, I would say. So this happened, right? So when I joined Max Super Health Insurance into product strategy, product innovation role, I was coming from a pure consulting background, as I mentioned, right? And again, same thing. So looking at a very so deep diving is something you do as a consultant. You just don't go and start talking about solutions. You just don't go into the client meetings and say we will solve this, we will solve that, right? Don't do that typically, right? So whenever you embark on a product strategy role, and one of our core philosophy, done is better than perfect, right? In consulting, perfection is the day one job. You can't go into a meeting with an unpolished deck, right? Through deck is what you speak, right? Here we talk in long form documents. In consulting, it is concise document, right? So you spend a lot of time in understanding the problem, defining the problem, then breaking it down. But in product, you pick a part of the problem, you do stack ranking of the problems that you have broken down problem, and then you pick up part and then you start solving for it, right? You should know how to pick that particular problem, how to prioritize. So let's say there is a problem set P1 to Pn, then you would do a stack ranking of them, and let's say P3 is top. You should know how to do that, right? So that I'm not delving deep into, but coming from a consulting background, it was like, let me understand everything first, right? So it took time, right? So for me to transition from giving and why in consulting we do that, because we are paid by the hour, right? so you have to ensure that you have to, when you are showcasing the deck to the client, they should be able to see that okay, this much time has been spent into this and what they are paying for, right? But here product is your own baby, right? So going and teaching someone's children versus teaching your own children, right? So that's the analogy here, right? So that is what we are talking about. So that is the transition time I took, to unlearn that consulting skill set is good to have, but not a must-have but yeah, problem-solving mindset is must-have, right? It's a must-have trait. So I harped upon that okay, let me solve a problem, pick it up, because people are impatient within the organization.
Correct.
They are paying you a certain salary. They have onboarded a startup that you have identified. They want to now see work happening, right? And product world is like that. It is impatient. The customers are impatient. They want that feature, right? They want that value to be derived. The time to value, metric is the most important metric. If they are struggling to, figure out how to sign up or how to avail a particular coupon or how to buy a certain thing on your website, you are not really doing justice to your job, right? So that was the main intention. So that is something I had to unlearn. That pick up the problem, solve it, and then see what happens, and then pivot accordingly.
Right.
So that was the learning, I would say, that I had to.
Got it.
Yeah.
So just adding upon this consultant and PMing bit. So sometime back I was talking with some fresh graduate students of MBA right now, and they have a confusion in their mind कि consultant पे जाएं, PMing पे जाएं. And like you said कि PMing was something that you had internally के करना ही है. तो what would you identify like यार अगर आपको ये करना पसंद है then consulting is something for you, and if ये करना पसंद है तो probably PMing, because there is some overarching thing like problem solving you said कि बहुत common सा है, but कुछ ना कुछ चीज़ें जाकर different हो जाती हैं.
Sure.
तो how that type?
Again, very good question. So consulting, as I said, right, it's short-term stint, right? So if you are patient enough to see things to fruition, then PMing is the role. If you are, want to move to other things, you want to keep doing exciting stuff, because, so I'm married to add, and that too almost 9 years into it. You need to keep the relationship exciting, right? Marriage is like a long-term commitment, right? You will know things about each other in first 2 years, and then things will become mundane, right? But so you need to keep doing stuff which makes it exciting, traveling, find common hobbies, develop new hobbies over time, and so on. So before marriage you date, right? So you don't like someone, you move on to something else, right? So you keep looking for that excitement in your life through, and it works both ways. It's not only from a man's point of view or a woman's point of view, but it works both ways, right? So consulting is what I would say is like a dating sort of thing, where you don't have a long-term commitment to things to solve those problems. But marriage is like PM. You are committed, you are invested into it, right? It's not that you have to solve it today. You have an urgency to solve it today. You have to solve it, but you also have to have a long-term view. That I'm solving, let's say, X problem today with some context. This context might change. Let's say maybe Web3 is coming in, this context would change.
Right.
Tomorrow some new technology comes in, that context will again change. So you have to be both current, you have to be invested in the current context, as well as you have to be open to a forward-looking context as well, right?
Right.
In consulting, typically you solve it in the current context. You will have a long-term view that you will propose to the CXOs that, okay, though we are solving this today, which will help you turn around the problem, but in long term, these things you could do. Probably you'll go towards Web3, or you'll go towards AI, or you'll go towards something else, right? So those are just proposals. Nobody knows what is the right way.
Correct.
But in PMing, your problem is completely your own.
Right.
You own that. You are accountable for that, right? In consulting, the accountability bit is also missing. That ownership is also missing. It's someone else's baby, as I said, right? At the end of the day, they have to go back home.
Right.
Like,
Right.
let's say I'm a teacher in the school. They come to me, they'll study with me, and then they'll go back home, right? So but here it's like homeschooling.
Right.
I'm the parent and I have to teach the child, right? So that is, they're not going anywhere.
Got it.
The entire day is about learning for them. Like,
So just in addition to what Vivek asked, that they're graduate freshers, MBA graduates who are in the confusion where to go, like consulting or program management, product management, basically. Now, if even the student, let's say, decides to pursue product management, then there are companies who come with certain certain specific product roles like technical product manager, growth product manager, consumer product manager. So what essentially all of that, how different are these to the entire bucket of product management?
Again, good question.
We are good hosts, we ask good questions.
So why is it a good question, right? Because if I were a fresher, right? And when I was a fresher, just passing out of the MBA, I got a job, right? Placements and all, campus placements as part of the Telecom as well. And got the job, was very happy that, I'm getting into one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world, and would, machana hai ab to jaake. It's like the red carpet is in front of me. But when you join the job, right, then you understand it's like, it is a mix of everything. There are exciting bits, there are mundane bits, right? And you have to embrace all of it, right? Then only you will succeed in what you are trying to do.
Correct.
Right? So, and when I was a fresher, even, when I was doing my MBA, I was sure that I want to get into brand management. That was like the given thing, right? And it was my childhood dream. So not childhood per se, but yeah, when I was in school and doing my engineering and all, my favorite, go-to or something that I used to look forward every week was brand equity. That used to come as a supplement with Economic Times. Right. So, and there in brand equity section, all these brand managers and savvy folks would come and talk about brand strategy, what is their journey. It was very inspiring for me, right? So, and that is what I wanted. I wanted to be featured on brand equity. That was my aim. And with that aim, I knew that I have to do brand management. So that's what I focused on. Majored in marketing, right? Minored in finance, right? When I was doing MBA and all, and everybody knew that this guy is going into marketing. Everybody, right? Won case study competitions across, right? Across B schools and everything in marketing domain, everything. So I was set, right? That in my mind that this is what is going to happen. But when I joined brand management, I said no, this is not happening. Right? This is not something I can do over and over again. Right? Though it might sound very scintillating and very, shiny from afar, but when you are into it, when you are within that storm, right? It's literally a storm, right? And there are a lot of things coming at you. You have to catch something and you have to duck, right? At times, and you should know when you have to do these things, right? So that was the experience that I had. So what I would tell a fresher is, don't think about being a growth product manager or a B2C product manager or a B2B product manager. The key word, and which is common across these designation, is product manager. Right. So focus on being a product manager first. If you are getting an opportunity and if you are interested in PMing, then whatever job you get, it does not matter what kind of organization be it. So people dream about getting into Fang Mang sort of an organization, right? As long as you are getting opportunity to work in PM and you are passionate about it, go for it, right? And then when you understand the nitty-gritties of this role, right, then you can pivot. As you would do as a product manager. So if you are having a problem, you pivot, right? Same thing, right? So this is part of your career graph should speak a lot about you as a product manager, is what I would suggest.
Interesting. Yeah, so one thing that you mentioned ki everything looks shiny from outside, अंदर जाके पता चलता दुनिया बदल गई है. So coming from this lens to PMing का दुनिया. So like you said कि अभी सब लोग capitalize करना चाह रहे हैं इसके ऊपर, and there are courses, there are leaders talking about there are PM schools, everything have come up. So because you have looked at every world and then you transition. So if you have to talk about some myths which actually exist in the world, like you are CEO of this and you control everything, which is not actually the thing happening. So how would you divide that? कि actually में कुछ और दुनिया है and that's not the reality. Like you said, there's a storm. Gaming is also like strong,
Correct. So I'll take an analogy here, right? So when I was doing my engineering, and I did my engineering, passed out in 2009, so long time back. Then I remember there was a new McDonald's that had come near my place, and I had never been to a McDonald's, right? And we went there, and I saw, and we used to go there a lot, right? college, it was next door. We would just go there whenever we would want, right? So you observe your surroundings, right? And I would say that is one of the core skill set of being a PM as well, that you should observe everything that is around you. Then only you'll be able to form a forward-looking context, right? Sorry for digressing, but we used to go to that McDonald's and I would see that same person sometimes is on the front desk, same person is sweeping the floor, same person is in the kitchen. So I was very intrigued, like what's happening, right? So I asked this person that, I see you across. Right? He said, in McDonald's, in a McDonald's outlet, you have to do everything.
Okay.
It's not that someone will be a cashier always, or someone will be sweeping the floor always, or someone will be in the kitchen always. Everyone has to do everything, and they keep rotating. They have shifts, right? So it piqued my interest, right? This is how you learn. Right. So tomorrow, if this person has to become the outlet manager, he has to manage the entire operations. So he should know about everything, right? Same thing if I want to extrapolate on the PM role, right? It's not only CEO, right? But you have to be the janitor sometimes. You have to clean the shed. You have to be the chef sometimes. You have to cook food for people, right? You have to be, you have to wear the business hat. You have to talk commercials. You have to do everything, right? So unless you sensitize yourself on all walks of business, you are not doing justice to your PM role, right? And this is the stark reality, right? Again, consulting, all swanky. You are given an office to work at the client location. Wherever you go, you'll be given a dedicated meeting room where it will be written outside, booked for XYZ consultants. Right? And you go there, you sit like a CEO and you work, right? And wherever you go, you have that autonomy because your project is typically sponsored at the highest level, right? So whoever you go to can't say no to you, right? But when you come to a PM role, everybody will say no to you, right? So that is the stark reality of a PM role that you need to embrace and empathize with everyone. So empathy is the keyword here. If you're not able to empathize with everyone around you, all stakeholders. So everybody other than you who's associated with this problem are stakeholders. And you have to empathize with everyone's need, be it internal business team, be it your CXOs, be it your manager, be it your customers, be it your vendors. If you don't understand their problem and you don't solve for them, you're not going to succeed in your role. So this is the stark reality that you have to wear so many hats. You have to be, as I said, you have to be janitor also, and you have to be the CEO as well. So this is something I would want to portray a PM role as.
Understood. Interesting. So Akshay, can you just help? So there are our audience is basically also aspiring product managers, right? They want to hop onto this journey of product management. So can you help us and help them know about certain skills that a product manager require? It's a prerequisite for a product manager to have. Either it can be some soft skills or some hard skills. So if you can touch upon that as well.
So again, we'll first touch upon the soft skills and then we'll jump onto the hard skills, right? So soft skills are any of those skills which are required for any job, right? So let's say you are in home when you're talking to the way you talk to your parents, right? That's the soft skill, is what I would say. You have to be empathetic when you're talking to your little brother or little sister or your older brother or older sister, your siblings and all, right? You are empathetic when they are sad. You go to them and try to make it work. When they are angry, you try to solace them and so on, right? So soft skills are these only that you should know. Empathy is the soft skill that should be there, and it's non-negotiable is what I would say, right? If you can't empathize with people around you, PMing role is not for you. Right? And again, in consulting, typically you might not be too empathetic, because if you want to lay off people, you have to lay off people. If that is your recommendation, that is your recommendation. But being in PM, you would want to solve for everyone, right? So that you are very empathetic while you are being highly accountable, right? So that's the topmost soft skill that should be there. Second is communication, right? I'm not talking about language. I'm not talking about the vernacular, but I am talking about communicating and articulation. So even if you're speaking in Hindi, मतलब अच्छे से बात करनी है, अपनी बातों को अपने सामने वालों को अच्छे से समझाना है, और घुमाना फिराना नहीं है.
Right.
And I think वो important भी हो जाता है because there are a lot of stakeholders and you have to ensure everyone gets the same thing.
Correct. And you should be very adaptive in who you are talking to. That context switching is a very important soft skill as well, right? It's not that right now I'm working on, I'm talking to my APM, I'm talking in a certain way, and I'm talking about this problem, and suddenly my manager comes from behind and asks, what happened about this particular thing. I should be able to switch context and talk to him in a certain language that he would understand, right? So that context switching is another skill set. So empathetic, highly articulate, and good at communication, and context switching are the soft skills that you should have, right? And these will essentially serve you in any job, any walk of life, right? Even in your personal life, these things will help you, right? So these are the soft skills. Jumping onto the hard skills, I would say there are 2 hard skills that should be there, which cannot be really taught, essentially, or you can't be groomed or coached upon these things. Rest everything is coachable beyond these 2 hard skills, in my opinion, right? So one is problem solving mindset, right? It's a hard skill. If you don't look at problem as a problem and you're looking at something, a difficult situation, you are done with, right? So don't try this at home is what I would say. And let's say if there is a problem, you want to solve it, you would go about solving it. But let's say you're married and you have a fight with wife and you see that as a problem, you are done with again, right? So these stunts are performed by experts. Right?
Don't try this at home.
Don't try this at home. Exactly. So problem solving is a very hard skill, and the second part would be your data orientation, right? So you should understand, or at least try to understand data very well, right? If you're not able to derive insights, you're not able to. So data is what speaks the reality, right? So I worked briefly with Infosys after my engineering, and in one of the discussions, not discussions per se, but this was Mr. Narayan Murthy was taking a session with the new joinees and all. And one thing he said, and this is one of the mottos of Infosys as well, that in data we trust, rest we test. Right? So that's something which has stuck with me, and this is back 2010 when I worked with Infosys. So more than almost 12 and a half years, and this line has stuck with me. So data is something that you should excel at.
Correct.
And excel as well. So, so that is something I would harp upon, that these are the 2 most important hard skills, that problem solving mindset and data orientation. So yeah.
Got it.
So Akshay, PM, basically a PM is expected to know a lot of things, right? They like you mentioned, data, problem solving, design, right? Articulation, presentation skills, a lot of things, right? So I always wonder, is it a good PM, if you want to define a good PM, is it someone who is master of all of these, or jack of all trades and just master at one?
Interesting question, right? So there are 2 types of product traits,
right?
I would want to talk about. So one is the craft, the craft part of it. So as I said, hard skills, soft skills are there. So I'm assuming this person has hard skills as well as soft skills, right? Early years into PM role, you should try to master the craft, right? You should learn from everyone, like a McDonald's sort of an environment. You have to do everything.
Correct.
don't stop at saying, no, this is not my job, or I'm a PM, how can you ask me to do this, right? So if that should not be the scenario, right? So you should try to master the craft, and from APM to PM to SPM till SPM level, focus should be on the craft part of it.
Right.
Then when you transition from an IC to a managerial role, you have to wear a hat of an operator. So there are two types of product managers: craftsmen and operators, right? So craftsmen are very good at what they do, but they can't operate or let's say evangelize their thinking across the organization stakeholders.
Right.
They have the right communication skill set, but probably they'll be very good at articulating things to their managers.
Correct.
Right, but not beyond that. If I put them in a very difficult situation that there's a board meeting, let's go and you present today, and if I throw this at them, some folks would be very good at that and they'll be able to adapt and like context switching sort of thing, right? They'll be able to do that in a very nice way. Most of them will not be able to. They will be apprehensive, nervous, but they will learn at the end of the day, right? So though they must be given these chances. So that they grow within their own might, but but your focus as a early stage or early PM, you should not focus on being the operator, right? You should be in a direct connect with your manager, and you should try to evangelize your thought process to your manager at least, right? And then work on the PM role, the data, the problem solving, product road mapping, and so on, right? So all these things should be your bread and butter. So your start of the day and end of the day should end in mastering the craft. Then when you want to and then what will happen is few people will be very happy doing the IC role.
Correct. Right.
They will not want to manage other people. They will say, यार problem solving करने में ही मजा है. मेरे को यही करना है यार, मतलब मेरे को फीचर बनाने, मेरे को नहीं करना मीटिंग, मेरे को नहीं जाना प्रेजेंटेशन देने, राइट? कर लो, कोई और कर ले, ठीक है, नहीं मिलेगा प्रमोशन कोई बात नहीं, बट मेरे को इसी में मजा आता है, मैं प्रोडक्ट बनाऊंगा, राइट? सो एंड दिस हैज हैपेंड, राइट? इफ यू सी ओला, भाविश was CEO, he moved to being a chief product officer.
Right.
Said नहीं करना मेरे को फंड रेज यार, मैं स्कूटर बनाऊंगा, इलेक्ट्रिक स्कूटर बनाऊंगा मैं.
Right.
That's what he's doing. Elon is talking the same thing, right? So if he's recently ran a poll, right?
Stepping down.
Whether I should step down. People said yes, you should step down. He said, as long as I find someone, I will step down and I will look at software and servers. Right. So that's the thing, right? If you are a craftsman, you will always enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
You can always go back to the zero level and then recreate the journey for yourself, right? So mastering the craft is the most important thing in your earlier. You can't just jump on to become an operator. Now, who's an operator? Operator is a product manager who has certain degree of craftsmanship, but is very good at evangelizing stuff, right? So that person would know that who to talk to and when. And in what context, right? They will know, okay, this is the right time to raise the red flag vis-a-vis, this is the time to, obscure the updates from the stakeholders, right? So that operatorship is also a very important skill set, right? Because that is how you will grow to be a product leader, right? You can't just be a craftsman and assume that you'll become a CPO one day.
Correct.
Right? So as in when you become a principal or a lead product manager, your role should be now to start mastering the operatorship of yourself. Correct. Right? So crafts 50% and then operator another 50% is where you should be focusing on. You should not never leave the craft part of it, because then you will not be able to groom and you'll not be able to sync with your reportees and your product managers and APMs and all, right? So that is how it should be. And then as in when you grow within your organization, craft should then tend towards strategy part,
right? And
then major focus should be on the operator. So 20% of craft and then 80% of the managerial operatorship should be.
Interesting comparison. Cool. I think we are almost near the end. We'll skip to the good part where we take a quick rapid fire.
Sure.
We'll throw questions at you and you have to give quickly answers on them.
Sure.
Let's start on that. One thing that you love about PMing?
Accountability.
Your favorite product?
Zomato.
One thing you hate about PMing?
Accountability.
Okay, if you were to define product management in just one word.
Passion.
One thing you wish you could change about PMing, what would be?
Accountability.
Accountability.
Okay.
Okay. Favorite product tool for the product management?
Figma.
Okay. And the last one will end on this one parting advice to aspiring PMs or the seasoned PMs that you want to give.
Never leave the craft, and always focus on solving the problems and be empathetic as much as possible.
Interesting. So that's it from this episode of the Building Blocks. हमें तो बहुत ज़्यादा मज़ा आया आज अक्षय से बात करने के अंदर, and I hope आप लोगों को भी अच्छा लगा होगा. Whatever your thoughts are, please write it down in the comment section. If you have any sorts of questions that you want to ask to Akshay, you can also leave it down in the comment. We'll try to reply back on that. And make sure you please share this podcast with your colleagues, your friends, and everyone, so that this information can reach out to a wider audience out there. On this note, this is the Team Building Blocks signing out. We'll meet you in the next episode. Bye.